The Silverstone Grand Prix circuit about to play host to some more Ginetta racing action, and the first appearance this weekend of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. It should be the second race for these drivers this weekend, but unfortunately yesterday afternoon the weather very much stopped play, and so our first race for this championship, well, the cars never even left the paddock. It was called off way before that. So sadly just the one race for these drivers to enjoy around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, but hopefully it will be an exciting one, certainly an intriguing grid for this race compared to what we saw at Alton Park, which was sheer domination really by Luke Reed. He won all 3 races in his Wolf Motorsport car to claim an early advantage in the championship, with Carl Garnett getting a couple of podiums. We also had a brace of podiums for Callum Davis. Ruben Haig was on the podium in the final race, and actually although Luke Reed dominated, we did still get 6 different drivers notching top 5 finishes up after Alton Park. So it's a competitive grid, and this weekend Luke Reed has not been in quite the same dominant form. He qualified 3rd for yesterday's abandoned race, and for this second race of the weekend he will also start from the outside of row number 2, the outside being the odd numbers here at Silverstone, because that's in theory the grippier side of the road. We've got 2 different types of car in this new for 2023 Ginetta GT Championship. You've got the GTP class, and then you've got the GT5 class, which is split into a Pro and Am section, which sort of does what it says on the tin really, but the GTP class is where you find essentially the Ginetta G56s, and then the GT5s, they're the G40 cars, so the same kind of car as we saw racing in Ginetta Juniors earlier on, but unrestricted since they're not junior drivers peddling them in this championship. Within that GT5 contingent, we had probably the closer racing, at least as far as battling for the victories was concerned at Alton Park. We did have 2 different winners, because Ella Lloyd was the winner in the GT5 Pro class in both of the first 2 races, but then had an off in race number 3, so Luke Garlick was able to come through and claim the victory, but every single one of the drivers was able to get a top 5 finish within their class last time out. The Am class dominated by Balsido. He took all 3 race victories, whilst Pablo Jequier, the only other Am runner that we had out at Alton, had 2 second places, but also a non-finish in the second race. It's Zentek Motorsport who lead the team's championship as well, after, again, a really strong set of results from Alton Park. But that could all change here today at Silverstone, given the fact that we've got this slightly jumbled up grid. It's going to give us, hopefully, plenty of action over the next 25 minutes, as what is essentially round 4, should have been round 5 in the championship, is about to get underway. Green flag lap is now beginning, and it's the number 95 car there you can see of Callum Davis, who will head them to the grid ahead of this first and only race of the weekend. So it's the SVG Motorsport man who's got the pole position. Ruben Haig alongside him for Brakel Racing. Then Luke Reed and Connor Garlick sharing the second row. So Luke Reed, winner of all 3 races at Silverstone, with work to be done today. Carl Garnett will start 5th, the ex-Mazda man, and Colin White starting his 301st one-make Ginetta race here today. A real stalwart of Ginetta racing is Colin. He'll start 6th ahead of Leona Theobald and Sean Fleming. Ella Lloyd is next, and she is the first of the GT5 runners, with Sam Harvey for company on that 5th row of the grid overall. Then we've got Will Rochford and Luke Garlick together, then Karim Sekat and Lexi Belk, all of these GT5 Pro runners. Then the 2 Am drivers, Balsidu and Pablo Jequier, Zentek Motorsport and Race Car Consultants, set to do battle in the Am class this weekend. So 2 classes of car with 3 classes of driver spread amongst them, and the Ginetta GT Championship's second event of the season, joining the SRO British GT package fully in 2023, although they do have a couple of stand-alone events, and in fact they'll be back here at Silverstone between June the 1st and 4th for the G-Fest, which is the Ginetta Festival, basically, in the height of summer here at Silverstone. 6 races planned for all 3 of the categories, so the GT Championship, the GTA Championship and the Ginetta Juniors, with 6 races to be had around Silverstone, 2 of them on the national circuit, and then 4 on the full Grand Prix circuit, so it's not the last time that we will see them out here at Silverstone. They've also got another standalone event at Cadwell Park in July, which is a really exciting event, which Ginetta, to my knowledge, have not raced in Capital Park before, certainly not for a long time in any of their one-make categories, so that's going to be pretty exciting later on in the season. It all comes to a conclusion at the Donington Decider, though, in the October the 21st and 22nd, the final round of British GT will also be the final round for the various Ginetta Championships, and we welcome them along to the British GT package for 2023. Of course, the GT5 Challenge has been a mainstay of British GT race events for a long time now, and nice to have these relatively new G56s out with us again these days. No lap records or anything yet. That's all going to be set in this race, and a lot on the line then really in this one race of the weekend that they're going to get. On board with Carl Garnett, he's going to be bringing us some onboard pictures over the next 25 minutes, and who, as I said, had success in Astro X5 racing, moved into Ginetta racing a number of years ago in a G55, and now at the wheel of the G56 GTA in 2023. He's going to be starting this race from 5th place alongside Colin White, who, as I said, is into his 301st one-make Ginetta race, celebrating the big 300 at Alton Park last time out. And really great to have Colin White back, because, of course, he had that awful accident at Thruxton last year, had to sit out the rest of the season. But great to have Colin back racing with us. And he, well, unfortunately, wasn't really able to celebrate that 300th race all that much at Alton, because it was his worst racing weekend. He had 2 5th-place finishes and then could only manage 7th in the 3rd race after getting involved in a spin at the first corner. So Colin White, who will be starting this one from 6th on the grid, can he make it into the top 5 again to celebrate the 301? So cars lining up then on the front row. The all blue, various shades of blue, but the all blue car on what was the right of shot then was Callum Davis. Ruben Haig up alongside him. Who will get the whole shot? Who will get into Cobb's corner first? That could be crucial. Not going to be the easiest of things to do to overtake within the GTP class. The GT5s, perfect for racing around here at Silverstone. We saw the juniors out in action earlier on, and they provided some great slipstreaming battling. Hopefully we'll see more of the same from the GT5 cars in this one, as we get ready to finally go racing in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. Red lights will appear above the drivers, and when they go out, we will be good to go. Lights out after quite a long hold now. Now, was that a jump start for the pole sitter? He went noticeably earlier than everybody else. There was a big jump from Davis, 4 wide further back in the GT5 ranks. Look at Colin White on the inside into 3rd position. It's a real shuffle at the start. The pole sitter leads the way, Callum Davis, but Colin White making great ground up there into the top 3, whilst Carl Garnett was one of those slipping backwards. So through Maggotts and Beckett they go, and the leader is around. That's Callum Davis sideways in front of the pack. Let's hope they all miss him. There's another car. That is Ruben Haig. Both of the front row starters are off. There is a collision further back, and that is big damage, I'm afraid, for Sam Harvey, the number 70, the number 66 involved as well, which was Sean Fleming. I think he was tagged initially by the number 28 of Ella Lloyd. So Ella Lloyd, championship leader in the GT5 Pro class, unfortunately out of the race. There are more walking wounded further down the track, and that is going to inevitably be a safety car period at the very least. Who is this coming towards us with all of the damage? Lexi Belk, I think that is, isn't it? Yes, number 98. There on the inside goes Callum Davis. I mean, what a chaotic start that was. Very reminiscent, actually, of the Ginetta Junior race earlier on, where Alicia Palmovsky spun from the lead, and then there were secondary and even tertiary accidents behind them as others tried to sort of scramble in avoidance. Unsurprisingly, the safety car is out. I actually don't know who's leading the race. It is the number 26. It's Luke Reed. Would fancy that. Luke Reed coming through all of that carnage to get the lead of the race. Garnett is second, and Colin White, forget a top 5, he might be able to get onto the podium. Drivers walking away down at Maggotts and Beckett's. That is good news, because there were a few big hits there, particularly for Sam Harvey, whose GT5 car was ricocheting from one car to another, was airborne at one point, and I think has ripped a wheel off as it came down to land. So Reed leads then, Garnett second, White in 3rd. Is that Conor Garlick then in 4th position? Try and get a look at that in a moment if we can. But the Wolf Motorsport driver, Luke Reed, up into the lead of the race. And all of a sudden, his chances of a 4th victory from 4 starts look fairly likely, don't they? So Callum Davis and Ruben Haig to my knowledge, are both okay. There is Davis. Where is Ruben Haig? Did he carry on? Oh yes, there's Ruben. So he had a very quick spin and has actually rejoined in 6th place overall, the number 6 car. So those two, the 2 fastest cars in qualifying, are now going to come through from the back of the GTP class when we go racing again. So there is Ruben, the Gardex car, and he... Well, I'm sure we'll try and piece together everything that happened. I'm not entirely sure how Ruben went around. Was it contact, perhaps, with Callum Davis? We'll find out in time, I am sure. But Ruben Haig, thankfully undamaged, and miraculously, I don't think anyone collected Callum either. So they both got away with that as they come through to pick up the safety car. One car heading into the pit lane, but, well... Let's try and piece all of that together. This might take a little while because you've got to have eyes on the front of the field, eyes on the back, and it was all kicking off in the middle. I'm intrigued to know if that was a jump start by Callum Davis. It was a terrible start from Conor Garlick from the inside of row number 2. He got way too much wheel spin in the number 63 machine, and it was Davis who led them pretty healthily into turn 1. Luke Reed then came round the outside into 2nd after a brief challenge from Colin White after that rocket ship start. So Davis and Haig are nowhere near each other, so they can't have tangled. What happens then? Through Maggots, into Beckett's. The rear of Davis's car steps out. Oh, and then Colin White, I don't think, realised that Ruben Haig was coming to his left. So Haig gets squeezed onto the grass, and there, Ella Lloyd tangling with one of the GTP cars, and Sam Harvey left with absolutely nowhere to go. This might show us slightly better. Oh, there was contact. That was Luke Reed into the back of Callum Davis, so that's why Callum spun. Couldn't see that from the reverse angle. Around went Haig, and then there, Ella Lloyd taking avoiding action. Unfortunately, got into the side of the number 66 of Sean Fleming. And Sam Harvey was the innocent victim on all of that. So that explains a little bit more of what went on there, and that is interesting because Luke Reed getting involved in some front-to-rear contact there. He may be the race leader, he may even go on to win the race, but that will be very provisional, I suspect. Sam Harvey's Zentek Motorsport car, though, is an absolute wreck. The wheel demolished. You can see the engine, even part of the engine, I think, has been ripped out of the front of that car. That was about as big a hit as you'll see in Ginetta racing. Good to see that the safety equipment, both on the drivers and within the cars, did their job there, because the drivers have all been able to get out of their cars relatively unscathed. A bit battered and bruised, I'm sure, but that could have been an awful lot worse. So Reed leads the way then, Garnett 2nd, White 3rd, 4th Conor Garlick, despite that dreadful start, 5th for Leona Theobald, Ruben Haig is 6th, and then in 7th place, Luke Garlick, who is leading in the GT5 contingent. Balsidou is next. He's leading the AM class. Balsidou started 15th, by the way, and is 8th, having picked his way through all of that. In fact, he and Pablo Jecquier both getting through all of that drama. So the 2 AM runners run 2nd and 3rd overall within the GT5s. Then it's Callum Davis 10th. So 10th on the road, 7th within his class is Callum Davis, but he'll be looking to try and move back through the order as quickly as he can. Then Lexi Bell, Will Rochford, Ella Lloyd and Karim Sekat. So we only lost Sean Fleming and Sam Harvey. Ella Lloyd came into the pit lane but has gone back out again. And Karim Sekat, I think, was just delayed in it all. Doesn't actually have any major damage. So that's good news. Ella Lloyd able to rejoin the race. And, with the safety car, she didn't go a lap down, so she'll be able to catch up as well. If there's not too much damage to that car, she should be okay. On board with Carl Garnett then, 2nd place, but could that become a race win, maybe? Either with things that happen on the track or off the track even after this race. I'm sure the clerk of the course will be having a look at what happened there. You can also see the way that the track is drying noticeably now, because for the first time in what feels like days, the sun is shining here at Silverstone. It's actually a really lovely day. It's very pleasant, it's very warm, it's just overcast and quite humid, but hopefully the sun can burn through some of that cloud now, and we can get a fully dry track as we move into the remainder of the day. But certainly track conditions now much more favourable than they have been. The drivers will be enjoying seeing that for sure, because slick tyres on these GTP cars and the more warmer the drier the track gets, the more grip the drivers are going to have from those tyres. Fastest lap set by Karim Sekat as he catches up to the field, but we'll see a new lap record set at some point once we get racing resumed. There is Sam Harvey's car. The radiator's been torn off the front of it. Again, though, brilliant job done by the marshals and recovery crews down there at Beckett's to get the cars out of the way as quickly as possible. We should be able to go racing, I hope, at the end of this lap. There is your GT5 leader, Luke Garlick. Luke Garlick picking his way through the drama to get the class lead. He, remember, is your championship leader. Actually, I think I said Ella Lloyd was the championship leader. She won 2 races, but that non-finish in race 3 means that she is only 3rd in the points, whilst Luke Garlick, Mr. Consistency really, 2 podiums and a race win, manages to head the GT5 Pro Championship by 5 points over his other Zentek Motorsport teammate Sam Harvey. But Sam is out of the race, and Ella Lloyd perhaps has damage, certainly has lost track position. And so the 3 Zentek Motorsport drivers at the top of the GT5 Pro Championship, and GT5 Am Balsidou continues to lead the class as he does the championship after 2 race wins. But it'll be interesting to see whether Pablo Jecquier can really take the fight to him in this one. Pablo had a couple of moments in, I think it was the 2nd race at Alton Park before he ultimately retired. As long as you finish, guaranteed some points in this championship, so worth trying to get to the end. There's Ella Lloyd, so she has now caught up at the back of the pack, and that car, from distance at least, doesn't look badly damaged, does it, the number 28 car? The white, pink and yellow machine. Same can't be said, I'm afraid, for Sam Harvey's car, which looks a sorry sight, doesn't it? Damage on pretty much all 4 corners of that car. Dragged out of the way, but I think they should have it behind the barriers by the end of this lap. Garlick moving around, as is Luke Reed, the race leader, trying to keep some heat in the slick racing tyres. Colin White in 3rd and Conor Garlick behind him. Can Colin White get a podium finish? That would be a great result for him if he could. There is Ella Lloyd's car at the back. It would have been the right front corner, I suppose, of that car that took the hit. So that's the corner I'd be interested in seeing. Try and figure out whether she's picked up any damage at all, but it certainly doesn't look too bad, does it? And if the car isn't damaged, there's still a chance she could win this race because we know she's got front-running pace. There she goes, and yeah, hardly a scratch on it, is there? So really fortunate is Ella to get away with that one. Safety car's pulled away, which means that we're going racing this time, and Luke Reed now becomes the control car. We'll have less than 15 minutes of racing to go upon the resumption, and he's gone early. That really caught Carl Garnett out. I don't think Carl expected that, and others further back are still weaving around whilst Luke Reed is getting himself up to full racing speed. So went really early, but he's timed that perfectly. The safety car's in the pit lane, and he is already getting up to full speed. Carl Garnett, though, under a lot of pressure from Colin White, showing his years of Ginetta experience. You don't do 300 one-make Ginetta races and not learn a thing or two. He was ready for the restart, and he's going to try and challenge Carl Garnett into Copse Corner as they get the race back underway. 14 minutes 40 to go, and we begin the 4th lap of racing. Through Copse they go. There is Ruben Haig up behind the number 8 of Leona Theobald as they dice away for 5th position. Ruben Haig will want to try and get past as quickly as he can so he can set after the race lead. Remember, he was on the front row of the grid along with Callum Davis, who overtook Pablo Jecquier before the line. That's interesting. That is not allowed, of course. Even if the leader has accelerated, you're not allowed to overtake anyone until you cross the line. But Callum Davis got past Pablo Jecquier, who, of course, is a GT5 car, significantly slower and running in a different class. But it doesn't matter. He's still not allowed to do it. Right, here comes a challenge for 3rd place now. Conor Garlick up the inside of Colin White. And Colin White goes from being the attacker in his battle against Carl Garnett to now the defender. He defends that well, actually, around the outside. Hangs on to the position. Behind them, did Ruben Haig manage to find a way past Leona Theobald for 5th place? The answer is yes. So Ruben Haig into the top 5 now, and he will try and chase after those ahead of him. So Callum Davis should now be the next car behind them, but we'll see if anything comes of that little jump at the restart. Whether or not it was a jump at the initial start, I don't know, but that one almost certainly was. One way back, in fact, hasn't yet got past the GT5 leader, Luke Garlick. There is Ella Lloyd, already up past 2 or 3 cars, so Ella Lloyd is flying through the order. There, number 21 is, that's Pablo Jecquier. He's a lot further back than he should be, so in fairness, Jecquier might have been slowing. Here comes White and Garlick, side by side again. And Conor Garlick trying the outside line through the loop, not able to make that one stick, but the wider line gives him a little bit more momentum onto the Wellington straight. get in that slipstream, try to maybe have a go on the brakes into Brooklands corner. The inside line should be just about dry enough now, I think, to make this move. Is he brave enough on the brakes? Thinks better of it. Again, Colin White knows how to drive these cars, even though the G56 is a very different beast to the G55 that it sort of replaced. Colin has picked it up pretty well, hasn't he? And he was full of confidence on the brakes then to Brooklands corner. So Luke Reed not massively getting away from Carl Garnett. In fairness, his lead at the restart was 1.1 seconds. It's 1.9 now, so he took a few tenths out of Carl, but Carl spent the first part of that lap defending from Colin White, which will definitely have slowed him down. With that, Luke Reed sets the first sort of proper fastest lap, therefore lap record for the GTP cars around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Head up through Maggots and Beckett's. Further back in GT5 land, it is still Luke Garlick leading, Balsidou second, but Ella Lloyd remarkably into third already. There is Luke Garlick, the black car coming towards us. He's got a big lead over Balsidou, but there, the third car coming towards us, Ella Lloyd, she is on course, well, certainly to break into the top 2 overall, but she could even still win the race. Her last lap in traffic was a 2:28.5, which was 4 tenths quicker than the leader, even with all of that overtaking that she was doing. So she's in behind Balsidou. Now, this won't gain her any points. It won't cost Sidou any points because they're running in different classes, but she still needs to get past Balsidou as quickly as possible here to have a go at chasing down the race leader. Down the Hanger Straight they will run, leaving plenty of space for each other as they come down towards Stowe Corner, but Ella Lloyd has gone through already. Lloyd then into second overall, and the gap that she now has to try and bridge is somewhere in the region of 4.5 seconds to Luke Garlick in front, but I think she's got a good chance of doing that over the remaining 11 minutes of this race. Timing screen, by the way, having a bit of a glitch last time around because I said that Luke Reed had set the fastest lap. Actually, Carl Garnett set the fastest lap. I don't think his transponder's working, so the lead gap came down to 3/4 of a second, and I think it's coming down again on this lap, isn't it? Because in Sector 1, Carl Garnett has gone faster than anyone else. In Sector 2, Colin White has gone faster than anybody else. They're both lapping more quickly than the race leader, Luke Reed. Now, Luke does have a slight bit of damage, I think, to the front of that car. It is very slight after that contact with Callum Davis on the opening lap, but it might just be affecting the performance more down the straights, really, than anything else. And that could explain why they're starting to catch him. No one could touch him at Alton Park, could they? But here at Silverstone, he's got a fight on his hands. So too Carl Garnett, then, because Colin White, through the second half of this lap, is going on like a steam train. Look at the way that he's closed in on Garlick, and that will be a fastest lap now for Colin White, I think. Except it was briefly, then Ruben Haig did a 2:15.3. That's a full second quicker, second and a bit quicker than the race leader. So Ruben Haig closing in there on that group, the car with the blue rear end. He is running in 5th place, but on that previous lap was a full second quicker than the leader, a full second quicker than Conor Garlick ahead of him too. And looks as though he is going to be a factor in this race despite that lap 1 spin. Unlike, really, Callum Davis, who is 4 seconds further back, but also in the 2:15s. There were 3 drivers in the 15s that time. They were Colin White, Ruben Haig and Callum Davis. They are the 3 fastest drivers on track, but Callum is just so far back, I don't think he's going to have time to catch them. Here comes Colin White up the inside of Carl Garnett for second place, and there's a collision at Stowe Corner, and that might have done some damage to White's car. They both carry on, but that was a little bit clumsy. Colin White is going quite slowly down the hill. The inside goes Conor Garlick and Ruben Haig, and that dream of a podium finish has gone. The left front corner is damaged, I think. The wheel was wobbling around in a way that it shouldn't be as they came through Club, and we get a better look at that now. Yeah, you can see is the tyre knocked off the rim. It could just be wheel damage, but certainly a rough ride now for Colin White as he assesses the situation and makes his way down towards Abbey Corner. You don't want that front left corner to fail going into Abbey, that's for sure. And hopefully Colin was able to get through the other side in one piece. Meanwhile, Ruben Haig now sensing a real chance at a podium finish, goes up the inside of Conor Garlick, and that is for 3rd position. He's already got the bonus point for the fastest lap, but he wants to try and make some more progress if he can. Goes around the outside through the loop. Will that give him the momentum as he left the space by Conor Garlick? Just about. Terrific racing, terrific move that from Ruben Haig. He started the lap 5th and will end it at least in 3rd place. He's not that far behind Carl Garnett, and if he clears Garnett quickly, whisper it, but he might still have half a chance at a race victory here because Luke Reed is not escaping up front. Here's the replay. Colin White, a good dive up the inside. It's hard to tell from that angle whether Garnett turned into him or White drifted out wide into the number 19 car, but either way they met in the middle and the damage was done to Colin White's machine, whilst Carl Garnet appears to have got away with that scot-free. So leader goes through. That was a 2:15.8 for the leader, of course. Garnet a slow lap, but Ruben Haig I think is more than capable of lapping quicker than Luke Reed in this one. For whatever reason, around the high-speed Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, Ruben Haig a little bit faster than Luke at the moment. If you can get past Carl Garnet this time down the Hanger Straight, maybe he's got time to chase the leader down. Garnet a little bit wide through Beckett. Puts him offline for the left, which means he's offline for the right, and that all then will come together to give Ruben Haig a much better exit onto that Hanger Straight. He's got the assist of the slipstream as well. Does Carl Garnet leave him a space on the inside? Well, yes, he is. Doesn't even bother defending that one. Up the inside line will go Ruben Haig, and if he's late enough on the brakes, this should now be second place. Let's hope they avoid contact this time. Yes, they do. And Ruben Haig goes into second, so the recovery drive continues. He is 3.5 seconds behind the race leader. But his fastest lap, remember, is a good half a second faster than anything Luke Reed has done so far. So there's a good chance that he could start bridging that gap. We'll monitor the situation over the next few minutes. Colin White, by the way, has retired to the pit lane with that damage. And in the GT5 ranks, it's still a 3.2 second lead for Luke Garlick. He lost on the previous lap, though, 1.4 seconds. So Ella Lloyd is coming, and I think she'll be there within a lap or so. Now, remember, we have got some onboard cameras out there that might help shed some light on that collision that we saw between Carl Garnet and Colin White. So, well, let's see if, first of all, Carl Garnet can keep Conor Garlick at bay. We're getting a time penalty, by the way, for Luke Garlick. Now, here's the GT5 leader. We'll get to that in a moment, though. This is Carl Garnet's view, it's for me to say, of that collision. So he turns his way into Stowe. And bang, there is Colin White. So, again, still hard, really, to apportion blame. Thankfully, that's not my job to do. That is down to the clerk of the course, and they'll have a look at that after the race, I am sure. But they have already adjudged that a 5-second time penalty must be given to Luke Garlick. Now, that must be for track limits, you would presume. And he is only 3.2 seconds ahead of Ella Lloyd, who's catching him anyway. Now, Ella may well have passed him regardless on the track, but she certainly will now on corrected times. And so despite her part in that lap 1 collision, looks like Ella Lloyd's going to claim another race victory in the GT5 Pro class. Leaders then head through. There is Luke Garlick, who has picked up this 5-second penalty. I'm saying track limits, the timer screen doesn't actually tell me that, but that's the usual cause of these 5-second penalties. We've had a few of them already today. It won't be the last time that we talk about the dreaded track limits today. So there, Ella Lloyd should be able to come through and claim the class victory on this particular lap. She was quicker in the first sector by about half a second, quicker in the second sector by a tenth, quicker in the third sector by 4 tenths, and is likely going to be within a couple of seconds anyway at the end of the lap. Through Woodcote Corner they come, and Zentek Motorsport may well be about to celebrate a 3rd race victory of the season for Ella Lloyd as she tries to pick her way up the order. There are dropped scores to come into effect as the season goes on, so she can bounce back hopefully from that non-finish at Alton Park. But the way she's going, I think she's going to be tough to beat as the season goes on anyway. Black and white warning flag going out to Lexi Belk for, again, we presume track limits. No penalty just yet, it's just a warning for now. As there go the leaders, and well, that was perilously close to exceeding track limits again, you would have to say. So Luke Garlick with a penalty to come. In the GTP field, Ruben Haig was 4 tenths quicker than Luke Reed that time. So he's not taking the big chunks out of him that I sort of expected. Although it did take half a second out of him in Sector 1 this time. This has been a good battle too. I've been watching this on the timing screen. Karim Sekat and Bal Sidhu, ththese two have raced against each other for many a year in Ginettas. Bal Sidhu running in the AM class, Sekat in the Pro. And Bal Sidhu was overtaken by Karim on that previous lap. So that was the 10 car of Karim Sekat moving up into what is 4th overall. It's already 4th within the Pro class to start with. Bal Sidhu 17.5 seconds clear of Pablo Jequier, who had some sort of an issue, I think, off the restart, because he was plummeting down the order on that restart lap, but his pace ever since has not been all that strong. So I think may well have some sort of an issue. Back in the GTPs, meanwhile, the lead gap does come down by a fair chunk this time, about 7/10 faster than race leader Luke Reed then was Ruben Haig, so 2.4 seconds of the gap. The fastest lap, though, set by Callum Davis. Callum Davis at 2:15.26 is catching these two pretty quickly now. Carl Garnett and Conor Garlick, all the way round, of course. Garlick in third, Garnett fourth, and there the blue car in the background was Callum Davis, who, with a 15.2, was fractionally quicker than Ruben Haig, who again briefly had the fastest lap, only for Davis to pip him. Davis has found a way past Leona Theobald on that previous lap as well, so even with an overtake, it was a new fastest lap and therefore new lap record. On board now with Carl Garnett. This is a replay of how he lost that third place to Conor Garlick, round wide coming out of Copse Corner. Down towards the left-hander at Maggots, and I think it was really just the momentum lost at Copse that allowed Conor Garlick to go through. So Garlick up into third, Garnett down to fourth, Davis up to fifth and catching them both. And there you can see Callum Davis, who'll be ruining that spin on the opening lap, won't he? Through Abbey Corner then. Through the left-hander at Farm, hard onto the brakes into the hairpin at Village, and Carl Garnett not giving up hopes perhaps yet of getting back onto the podium. Carl had two podium finishes, both of them third places last time out. Meanwhile, for the lead in the GT5 class, well, it's for the lead on the track. On corrected times, Ella Lloyd is already ahead, but she wants to try and get past Luke Garlick if she can. Looks to the outside, to the inside, to the outside again as they go into Stowe Corner. But Luke Garlick places the car well there on the apex to keep her at bay, and there's a little bit of a touch. Now be careful, you don't need to be doing that, Ella, because the penalty is in your favour at the moment, or as it is. More black and white warning flags, by the way. Ruben Haig this time, and Balsidou, the AMP class leader in GT5s, being warned about track limits, because Balsidou is back ahead of Karim Sekat again now in their ongoing battle for track position. Ella Lloyd, though, not yet able to find a way through on the number 71 car ahead. But if she's not aware of the penalty coming Luke Garlick's way, then that could lead her to sort of going for a risky move that she probably doesn't need to go for. Hopefully the message has got through. And of course Luke Garlick will definitely want to hang on, won't he? Because then he's got at least half a chance, if Ella has a mistake, of taking the victory after all. Another time penalty now. This is for number 21, which is Pablo Jequier, 5-second penalty. So he's not going terribly quickly, but he's still exceeding track limits, which is never a good thing. There, Callum Davis looks to the inside of Carl Garnett for fourth position. He just did another new fastest lap, did Davis, a 14.9, which again was nearly a second faster than the leader. The lead gap, by the way, down to 1.7 seconds, but we're on the final lap of the race, so I don't think Ruben Haig is quite going to have enough time to give a real challenge here to Luke Reed, although he just took 8/10 out of him in sector 2, so he is going to be within a second or so by the flag, isn't he? What about Callum Davis, though? Can he find a way past Carl Garnett for fourth? Carl defends the inside towards Abbey Corner. There are the leaders. Now, can Ruben Haig get there? He's not close enough into Village, but a good run through these couple of corners could put him in striking range towards Brooklands. The body language of that car says attack, attack, attack. He is really pushing it. He has had that warning for track limits, but I don't think he really cares about that right now. Callum Davis, meanwhile, around the outside of Carl Garnett. That gives him the inside for the loop, and Davis will go through into fourth place and might have a go at Conor Garlick, who is slowing. Conor Garlick from third place, slowing with less than half a lap to go, and remarkably, despite the spin from the lead on lap 1, Callum Davis will get back into the top 3 positions. It's just going to be a little bit too little too late for Ruben Haig. Another lap, and he might have really given Luke Reed something to think about, but it will be a clean sweep of race wins, at least provisionally for Luke Reed, who comes out of Woodcote Corner to see the checkered flag and win the 4th race of the season in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. Meanwhile, Carl Garnett just trying now to get past Conor Garlick on the run to the flag. It's going to be 3rd for Davis, 4th on the line is Garlick by 91 thousandths of a second. Conor Garlick manages to hang on, so Carl Garnett not quite able to take advantage of whatever the issue was there for Carl Garnett. Perhaps a gearbox issue. There was no smoke coming from the car, was there? But perhaps just couldn't accelerate up through the gears. Right, GT5s, we've had a lead change on the road. Ella Lloyd ahead of Luke Garlick now. And of course on corrected times, she was ahead anyway. but it looks as though she's going to be the first of the GT5s to see the checkered flag on the road as well, which is a great recovery drive after the issue early on. Here is the replay of the overtake. It was going down the Wellington straight, and well, Luke Garlick thought that he defended the inside line, but Ella Lloyd found a gap, slid through and outbraked him into the left-hander of Brooklyn. So Ella Lloyd through into the lead of the class. She was already going to inherit the win anyway, but it looks now as though she's going to take it on the road too. Meanwhile, Balsidou, the AM class leader, now remember, he's been warned about track limits. It looks like he's taking it very easy now on this final lap. The car perhaps not fully up to speed, but that might just be Bal knowing that he's got a big lead of some 30 seconds or so over Pablo Jequier, just sort of stroking it home. So Ella Lloyd will claim another victory, her third of the season, the GT5 Pro class. Second place will go the way of Luke Garlick. Will he hang on to second place? I think he will, won't he? Because that's Colin White coming through behind, who is obviously a GTP car. So Luke Garlick, despite the penalty, will finish in second place. And there is Will Rochford, who gets himself onto the podium. Karim Sekat is next, and Balsidou comes out of Woodcote Corner to claim the victory in the AM class. And again, an unbroken run of AM victories for now for Balsidou. 4 races and 4 race wins, much the same as we've seen from Luke Reed in the GTP class. It was a slow lap that from Balsidou though. Whether it was a problem, whether he was just making absolutely sure that he didn't exceed track limits, I don't know. But anyway, he was 10 seconds or so off the pace at the end of that race, but still manages to claim the class win. So, lots to talk about there, wasn't there? A very dramatic start to the race and a very dramatic end to the race. But through it all, Luke Reed, the championship leader, comes home to claim the victory. A little shadow cast over that one after the contact with Callum Davis. But we'll wait and see if anything comes of that. And for the time being, Luke will be ecstatic to have come through from third on the grid to claim the win. Ruben Haig will perhaps be even happier, actually, after a spin on lap 1. Both he and Callum Davis make it back onto the podium, second and third respectively. Connor Garlick and Carl Garnett, 4th and 5th respectively, ahead of Leona Theobald, with Ella Lloyd 7th overall, the winner in the GT5 Pro class. Colin White, after that damage and the pit stop, finishes in 8th position, still on the lead lap though. Then it was Luke Garlick next, 2nd in the GT5s despite the penalty. Will Rochford was 3rd and Karim Sekat 4th. Balsidou claimed a dominant victory despite that slow final lap in the AM class, with Pablo Jequier 2nd, whilst Lexi Belk was the last of the finishers, 1 lap down after a troubled race. Sean Fleming and Sam Harvey, the only 2 retirements from that race, despite the fact there were about 5 or 6 cars off the road at Maggots and Beckett's on the opening lap. We only actually lost 2 of them, although Sam Harvey's car in particular, with a lot of repair work to be done before the next rounds of the championship later this month at Donington Park. So Ruben Haig pulls in next to Luke Reed. Interesting to see what the reaction is here from Luke as he gets out of the car, because it's not the way you would have liked to have won that race, I'm sure. Fairly subdued reaction as he gets out of the car, but he will celebrate, I'm sure, another race victory as his season gets off to a pretty perfect start. Right then, let's remind you of all of the action that we had in that Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship race. It started with a very interesting launch off the line for Callum Davis. He got the lead, whilst Luke Reed moved through into second place ahead of a rapid Colin White, who arguably should have been on the podium in that one. Ruben Haig had a dreadful start, but then at Beckett's, things would get even worse as Callum Davis was punted into a spin after some contact from Luke Reed. As others scattered to avoid, Ruben Haig was knocked into a spin, and there, Ella Lloyd clattering into the side of Sean Fleming's car, and the luckless Sam Harvey was sandwiched in the middle of it. Lots of damage done to the number 70 car, and unsurprisingly, the safety car was scrambled. It was a brilliant restart from Luke Reed. He played that beautifully by surprising everyone and accelerating early, leaving behind him a great battle for second place, which sadly ended after contact at Stowe Corner between Colin White and Carl Garnett. Garnett was okay, but White had to pit with damage. Then Carl Garnett ran wide coming out of Cops Corner. He'd already lost second place to a resurgent Ruben Haig, and threw up the inside when Connor Garlick. It looked as though a podium finish was on for Connor, but sadly his final lap would not go to plan. Ella Lloyd recovered beautifully after that contact comeback that she had at Beckett's to overhaul Luke Garlick and win on the road. Luke, though, had already picked up a 5-second track limit penalty, so in the end, Ella Lloyd was always going to be handed the victory. With only a couple of corners to go, Connor Garlick slowed from third position, and back through went Callum Davis, meaning both he and Ruben Haig recovered after their lap 1 spins to get on the podium, whilst Balsinu was dominant once more in the GT5 AM category to claim another win. Despite a late charge from Ruben Haig, it was Luke Reed who held on to win the race here at Silverstone in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. So, fantastic racing here around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Lots to talk about, lots to dissect after that race. But it's Luke Reed victorious again here at Silverstone. We'll see those drivers out again at Donington Park later on this month. See you there.